sing for you. You are so strong.
Are you ready for the word? Yes, sir. I'm going to read to you tonight as we begin out of Exodus 12. It begins this way in verse 1. And Yahweh spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you Rosh Chodesh. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of this month they shall take of them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for a house. And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man, according to his eating, shall make your count for the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. You shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats, and you shall keep it until the 14th day of the same month. And the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. They shall take of the blood, strike it on the two side posts and on the upper doorposts of the houses, wherein they shall eat it. They shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire, unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. If you'll notice there, that word herbs is in italics. This word actually means bitterness, or in Lamentations 3 it's translated with grief. It's not about eating bitter herbs, it's about eating it with an attitude. This night is not about the joy of the resurrection. That night's coming. That day's coming. But this night is about the price that was paid to set us free. And as we gather tonight, there should be a degree of grief that we feel. It's awesome. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. It's awesome to get excited and say, He died for me. But really we need an attitude of heart that grieves us to say, He had to die for me because of what I did, because of my transgressions. I'm the reason He had to die. So there ought to be a grief involved in that. There was an awesome price paid to deliver us from the power of darkness. Pharaoh had a strong grip on Israel, and it looked impossible for them to be set free from it. But Yahweh. And darkness had a strong grip on us, and it looked impossible for us to be set free from the penalty of our transgression. But Yahweh. I'm going to pick back up in verse 9. Eat not of it raw, nor sodden it all with water, but roast with fire his head with his legs, and with the purtenance thereof. And you shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remains of it until the morning you shall burn with fire. And thus shall you eat it with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand. You shall eat it in haste. It is Yahweh's Passover. These are His feasts. Yes. This is Yahweh's feast. This is Yahweh's Passover. This is a celebration of Pesach. Pesach means exemption. Conrad and I were looking at that last night. It means exemption. This night is a story of how you and I became exempt. There Conrad is. I was looking for him. This night is the story of how we became exempt from the wrath that is to come. Our penalty was exacted upon the Messiah. Well, just want to share a couple of things, and then we're going to share a meal. Today is the 14th day of the first month. On this day, a lamb was slain that secured Israel's deliverance from Egypt. And it was on this day that our Messiah was slain and secured our deliverance from the penalty of our sin. Tonight we commemorate His death, which we are to continue to do according to Scriptures until He appears again. And as we do that, as we commemorate His death, keep in mind that though He was betrayed by Judas, and though He was condemned to death by the chief priests and scribes, and though He was sentenced by Pilate, nailed to a stake by the Roman soldiers, and there He died, keep in mind this: no man took His life. John 10, he says this, "Therefore does my Father love me, because I laid down my life, that I might take it again. No man takes it from me, but I lay it down of myself. I have power to lay it down. I have power to take it again. This commandment have I received from my Father." No man took his life. This is Yahweh's Passover. This is the story of our redemption that Yahweh and His Messiah worked out for us. So as the sun sets today, we enter into that mega Sabbath that begins unleavened bread. Exodus 12 said that it is a night to be much observed. It's not supposed to just be guarded. It's supposed to be heavily guarded. It's not supposed to just be protected. It's supposed to be extremely protected. So everything we do here tonight, we do with the intent of making sure that we not only observe this night, but that we much observe it. Tonight we meet to remember what was done for us. Tonight we meet to remember what's expected of us. Tonight we meet to remember how much we are loved, and tonight we meet to remember how much we are to love. Tonight we meet to remember that He was made sin for us, and tonight we meet to remember that we were made righteous by Him. Tonight we share the Passover meal. And I just feel I need to say this as a means of explanation, of introduction. But we at the Assembly of Yahweh have strived over the years to separate tradition from truth. And we acknowledge that there are traditions that are good. Not all traditions conflict with Torah, and therefore some traditions are acceptable practices. But for us, we have chosen to observe Passover as a memorial to Yahweh, as a memorial of what He did in His great display of power in delivering Israel out of Egypt, what He did in His great display of power in raising the Messiah from the dead. We have chosen to observe Passover as a memorial, as a remembering of those things, and we do not use the traditional cedar plate. There is a tradition of a cedar plate, and if you choose to keep that tradition, then we understand your reason for doing so. We understand that it's because you wish to symbolize the story of Passover. That's the reason a lot of people do it. But we have chosen not to use it. We have chosen to not use the bitter herbs. I just read a moment ago from Exodus 12, and in the King James it says bitter herbs, but it is my contention that that word is only translated as bitter herbs the two times that it's mentioned in reference to Passover. Other times it means grief or bitterness. So I don't think that Torah is commanding us to eat bitter herbs, so we will not tonight. We believe that instead of having an awareness of the bitterness that hits our tongue, there should be an awareness of the grief and sorrow that should pierce our hearts. So here's what we will do tonight. We will receive communion tonight. We will remind you that if one died for all, then they which live should live for Him. We will remind you that you were not redeemed with corruptible things such as silver and gold, but you were redeemed with the precious blood of a lamb without spot and without blemish. We will exhort and encourage you to remove all leaven from your home, from your diet, from your life, and from your study. We will exhort and encourage you to eat unleavened bread for the next 7 days as a reminder that we are made righteous that we might live righteous. And as a reminder that we who were once Gentile, alienated from the commonwealth of Israel, having no hope in their promises, we have been grafted in, and now we're able to consume only the unleavened truth of Torah, that we might know how to serve Yahweh and follow our Messiah. So tonight I begin by saying to you, behold, the Lamb of Yahweh that takes away the sin of the world. Tonight I say to you, oh, magnify Yahweh with me, and let us exalt His name together. First, we're going to share a meal. Then I'm going to come back and share a word. Then we're going to share communion.
Yeshua, Yeshua, He is our hope. Yeshua, Yeshua, He is our joy, and in Him does rest all our hope of redemption. Shalom have they which love thy Torah, nothing shall offend them at all. Yahuwah, I've longed for thy Yeshua, and done thy mitzvah. Yeshua, Yeshua, He is our hope. Yeshua, Yeshua, He is our joy, and in Him does rest all our hope of redemption. Yeshua, Yeshua, He is our hope. Yeshua, Yeshua, He is our joy, and in Him does rest all our hope of redemption. Yeshua, Yeshua, He is our hope. Yeshua, Yeshua, He is our joy, and in Him does rest all our hope of redemption. Shalom have they which love thy Torah, nothing shall offend them at all. Yahuwah, I've longed for thy Yeshua, and done thy mitzvah. Mighty to save, mighty in battle is He. Captives are set free, we dance in victory. Yahweh is mighty to save, mighty in battle is He. Captives are set free, oh, we dance in victory. Yahweh, 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 oh Yahweh, 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 Yahweh is mighty to save, mighty in battle is He. Captives are set free, oh, we dance in victory. Yahweh is mighty to save, mighty in battle is He. Captives are set free, oh, we dance in victory.
That was awesome. Suzanne, Lisa, thank y'all very much. That was beautiful. Traditionally, we at the Assembly of Yahweh here, traditionally when we receive communion, we receive it the night before Passover, the night in which He was betrayed. And we met here last night to do that very thing, but there was a sacredness and a holiness that came over the place, and I guess a better way of putting it too is a spiritual prompting that it was just more expedient that we examine ourselves first. Take a day to examine ourselves before we receive communion. And so that's what we did. But we want to receive communion tonight. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that before we do, but I think it would be wise if we just went ahead and prepared ourselves to receive communion. So here's what I want you to do. So if you would just go ahead and get up out of your seats and prepare yourself. Have your children hold it until, or you hold it for them until we're ready to go. But go ahead and get it and take it to your seat with you. I'm going back to 1 Corinthians chapter 11. If you want to turn there, please do. I'm going to pick up reading again as we did last night in verse 23. Excuse me. Verse 23. For I have received of YAHWEH that which also I delivered unto you, that the Master, Yeshua, the same night in which he was betrayed, took bread. I'm going to pause at that word betrayal again. I went ahead and posted our service from last night on YouTube, and I'd encourage you to go look at that. We talked quite a bit about betrayal, the act by which Judas surrendered his relationship with the true Messiah in order to gain influence among the powerful religious leaders of Judaism and in order to gain financial increase. We talked about the fact there is no remedy for betrayal. Betrayal means that you want to be connected to religion, but you do not want to follow the true Messiah. There's no remedy for a person who does not want to follow the true Messiah. You understand, Judas didn't just decide, hey, I quit, I'm through with this quote-unquote religious stuff. He wanted to stay connected with religion. He just wanted a religion that did not acknowledge Yeshua as the Messiah. He connected with and began to associate himself with the chief priests and the scribes. In his act of betrayal, he chose a religion that taught for doctrine the commandments of men and held to traditions instead of Torah. Messiah said in Mark chapter 7 that if those in that religion were faced with a contradiction between their doctrines and their traditions and what the Word said, they would reject the Word every time, and they would choose their doctrines and their traditions. And that is exactly where Judas turned to. Many today do the same thing. They want to be connected to a religion. They love the aspect of religion, of belonging, but they don't want to follow the true Messiah who walked in total obedience to Torah, who chose what YAHWEH said over tradition. Many betray the true Messiah in order to follow a Greek version of him. And as I said last night, I say it again, there's no remedy for that. So we said, read there in verse 23, the same night in which he was betrayed, he took bread, and when he had given thanks, he broke it and said, take, eat, this is my body, which is broken for you. This do in remembrance of me. And after the same manner also he took the cup when he had supped, saying, this cup is the New Testament in my blood. This do ye as oft as you drink it in remembrance of me. For as often as you eat this bread and drink this cup, you do show the Master's death till he come. Wherefore? The wherefore means that he has stated all of that because he wanted to make a point to us. So listen to the point he's about to make. Wherefore? Whosoever shall eat this bread and drink this cup of the Master unworthily shall be guilty of the body and the blood of the Master. But let a man examine himself, and so let him eat of that bread and drink of that cup. For he that eats and drinks unworthily eats and drinks damnation to himself, not discerning the Lord's body, or not discerning the body. For this cause many are weak and sickly among you, and many sleep. I want you to notice there that contrary to what tradition teaches, I want you to notice that Paul didn't say a word there about Yeshua made you worthy. So you have no fear when you partake of communion. Just partake of it. No, He made you worthy. That's not what he said. Instead, he warned those who follow Messiah to be careful not to eat and drink in an unworthy manner. And this isn't just about the way we do it. Some teach that. This isn't about you, it's about the way you do it. It is about the way we do it, but it is also about the way we are and who we are when we do it. Listen to verse 28 again. But let a man examine himself. It doesn't say, let a man examine the way he eats and drinks. If it was only about the way, that's what it would say. Y'all examine the way you're doing this and make sure the way you're doing it is reverent. It's not what it says. It says, let a man examine himself. It's us who needs to be put to the test. At Passover, we are reminded of the great price that was paid for us. And as we gather together to commemorate that great event, we are warned to make sure that the lives that we are living prove that we grasp what has been done for us. I'm going to say that again. As we gather here tonight and we consider the price that was paid for us, what this passage is warning us that we need to do is to examine our lives to make sure that the way we're living proves that we really do understand what was done to redeem us. The warning is that if we take the bread and eat it, the bread which he said represents his body that was broken for us, and that if we take the wine and drink it, the wine that he says represents his blood that was shed for us, the warning is that we do that without a willingness to thoroughly separate ourselves from the world and to live like he did, then the warning is we're eating and drinking damnation to ourselves. The passage warns us that many are weak, sick, and dead because they did not discern or did not thoroughly separate themselves during the time. So here's what we must be made aware of tonight. Yahweh is not impressed that we're willing to gather together on Passover or on this occasion and look solemn while we take the bread or we drink the wine. In fact, he is offended by it if we eat the bread and drink the wine and we do not do it with a great compulsion to leave here with a renewed commitment to live righteously. The way we look or how quiet we are or how serious we look doesn't matter. What matters is the determination we have to live with a renewed commitment once we leave. Listen to verse 30 and 31 again. For if we would judge ourselves, we would not be judged. That word judge ourselves, we talked about it last night. Diakrino means to thoroughly separate ourselves. And listen to verse 32. But when we are judged, we are chastened of Yahweh that we should not be condemned with the world. And that word translated judged is the Greek word krino. And so what he's saying to us is, if we continue to eat and drink unworthily, then Yahweh will separate us out for discipline. Because he doesn't want us to end up falling away into a place where we are condemned with the world. That's what he's saying. I want you to separate yourself so that I don't have to separate you and discipline you to keep you from being condemned with the world. So tonight the call is for us to be more than just people who keep the feast. More than just people who keep the Sabbath. We can't be satisfied with where we are. We got to rejoice that we are here. But we can't be satisfied with just doing a few things. The call is for us to be a people who are determined to learn, to keep, and to do everything that's written in Torah. Tonight is about a heart of gratitude. It's about a heart of consecration. commitment, determination, repentance, and unwavering faith. Romans 12 says this, and I know you're familiar with it. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of Yahweh, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto Yahweh, which is your reasonable service. Be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good, acceptable, and perfect will of Yahweh. Tonight we're to leave here with a mind renewed and a life transformed. You know, the world can wear on you. And the cares of life and the pressures of living can wear on us. But when we remember what was done for us, our minds should become restored to a renewed commitment to live a transformed life. And if He has transformed us, shouldn't we live transformed? Certainly we should. I want you to go ahead, if you would please, and stand up. He said, this is Messiah. He said, this is my body which is broken for you. So let's say this with me. I take it, into my body, which I dedicate to you, as a living sacrifice. Take and eat. He said, this is my blood which is shed for you. We say, I take it, into my body, which I dedicate to you, as a living sacrifice. Those are the words of covenant. Take and drink. It shall come to pass when your children shall say unto you, what mean ye by this service? That you shall say, it is the sacrifice of Yahweh's Passover, who passed over the house of the children of Israel in Egypt, when He smote the Egyptians and delivered our houses. And the people bowed the head and worshiped. Make sure your children understand what we do and why we do it. Make sure they understand that we gather not just to eat a meal, but that we gather because of the most powerful Elohim, the Almighty, who smote the Egyptians and who also smote darkness. Yahweh bless you and keep you. Yahweh make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. Yahweh lift up His countenance upon you and give you peace. As His name is put upon you, so shall He bless.
You are so sweet. You are so sweet, and I sing for you. I sing for you. You are so strong. You are so strong, and I sing for you. Oh, I sing for you. And I sing for you. I sing.